I'm your host, Christine Renee, and I'm super excited to have on guest Daryl Holzer. She is one of my colleagues. Like, I absolutely see her as a colleague, a mentor, and we have been in each other's world for probably about 5 or so years. And Daryl is a clairvoyant and spiritual teacher focusing in on past lives. And so Daryl guides in specialized techniques to access soul memories, shift core beliefs and emotions, connect with the divine source, develop intuitive potential, and make confident choices. So welcome to the show today, Daryl. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you, Christine. I'm really honored to be here and happy to share what I can about past lives.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the topics that I definitely get questioned about here at Reiki Cafe Radio and in the community. And so super excited to have someone on who has such a well of experience. Like, you've been doing this now for over 25 years. Is that right?
Right. My first past life experience was in 1996, and it set me on a course of doing clairvoyant work and teaching workshops full time and supporting myself with that. So it's for me, past lives, the exploration of past lives and the information that can be gleaned from that has been absolutely life-changing for me.
And for so many of your clients too. And I know
Right.
that, right? I love
Right.
that. So give us a little bit of background, like tell us about how that first experience, how you stepped into this as a profession. I know you authored a book along the way. Like, how did that journey, your personal journey experience go?
Well, so I kind of sense there's been something different about me. I always wanted to be a helper. I knew I was here for service, but I was raised in a family where none of that kind of alternative ideals, very practical, earth plane, money matters kind of family. So I was in a life where I was following that protocol. I had a graphic design job. I was trying to do all the things that I was told to do to be happy, and I was so miserable. So I had a job and I injured my back on the job, and I was also in the midst of getting out of a really traumatic, oppressive relationship. And so I went to a counselor just to kind of deal with all of these major life upheavals that were coming for me. And she said, let's do a hypnotherapy session to see what your back wants to tell you. She did not mention the word past lives, but I found out later she's open to that. So she puts me under in a self-hypnosis journey. All of a sudden, bam, I'm an old man. I've got a beard, long gray hair. I'm in a room, a circular stone room that is, the shelves are lined with jars of herbs. On the center table, there's a leather-bound book with these very bizarre symbols kind of lit up and bouncing off the page. It was a very strange thing, but because I was in that altered state where my rational mind was set aside, I just went with it. I felt what it felt like to be that man. I knew that I was a wise one who was hiding away in a time of oppression. She says, okay, advance yourself a little forward in time. What's happening now? And the angry crowd was coming from the church with torches and sticks, and they pulled me out of this building and whacked me on the back right at the exact spot where my present life back injury had been. And it went off like a tuning fork, going ga-bing, 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 like awareness and correlations and understanding just came flooding into me. And I realized, oh, that's why I'm afraid to be a healer again. This is more than just my back injury. But I also felt this huge charge of energy leaving my physical body. And at the at the end of that past life journey, she takes you to the moment of your death. And she says, what was the lesson from that life? And I said, it was to help, it was to learn, and it was to not be too dogmatic with what I bring. And she says, and what's the emotion that you are experiencing when your soul has left your body and you're looking back on that experience? And I said, oh, it's such utter sadness that all of the work that I all of the knowledge that I gained in that lifetime, it's lost, it's just gone. And this little twinkly image or the feeling of this, like a spirit guide, and her name was Star, right then just got all like giddy, going, oh no, it's not lost, we have it, and we're just waiting for you to be open to the download, to be open to receiving it again. So what happened for me after that experience, immediately when I kind of came back and was just awestruck with it, I was able to bend over and touch my toes pain-free.
Wow.
My back no longer needed to be screaming at me. I got divorced. I stepped on my path. I started receiving messages from spirit so I've been doing clairvoyant readings, but not really with confidence. So when I saw this other experience and I realized why I had been afraid to tell people who I really was and really be doing my work, I was like, oh, I can release my fear of persecution.
Yes.
It's okay. I'm safe this lifetime. And there were a lot of affirmations that I repeatedly said to myself to kind of seal the deal after that awareness. And it took a while. There was still some trepidation, but the more I stepped forward and I realized, oh, there's no angry mob. No matter what anybody says to me, they might laugh at me, they might, shun me. I'm not getting killed this lifetime, full speed ahead. So that was a very exciting, pivotal moment. And then I worked with this therapist ongoing, and she really gave me my base foundation training in how to guide people in their own journeys for past lives. And I've probably, since that time, I made my own recording of the steps, and I've kind of reworked it a bunch of times to see what works, timing and all that stuff. And I've done probably over 80 past life regressions for myself.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm in process of writing the novel loosely based on that. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, what I'm noticing is like, it reminds me of when I first did my first couple past life recalls was with you. And it was the same type of work. It was the same, like, I think so many healers out in the world, so many spiritual practitioners out in the world have this witch's wound or this healer's wound from a past life. And when we can recognize that we're not going to be hung or burned at the stake, like, we're able to fully step into our confidence and our clarity and our conviction of what we're doing in this lifetime with like full on purpose and passion. And so my experience was very much, I remember being in a courthouse in front of a magistrate and it was like the mob was in the courtroom, and the judge was my ex-husband of this life. Right. And so he was calling me out as a witch in this past life. And I did so much healing work, recognizing, aha, I see you for what you are. You were the judge. You were the one who cast me out of our society and burnt me at the stake. It was you all along. And when I could come back into this lifetime and go, you know what, that was a story from a different time. And he can't do that to me again. I'm safe in this lifetime to be all that I am with all the power that I have to share my healing work. And it just really helped me take a deep breath and recognize the situation for what it was, and go, it can't happen again. It's in the past.
I want to jump in and share something that's really resonant with what you're sharing, because when I continued to do some of the past life healing in that point in my life after the back injury, I also went into seeing what my past lives were with the man that I was married to. And I saw that he and I had killed each other 14 lifetimes in a row. Totally explained my deer in headlights experience with him, where I was afraid to say no to him about anything. And when I saw my history of trauma, and I went, oh, I can break the cycle. That's not what we're doing this lifetime, but that explains why I'm such a sheep to him, and I'm not to anybody else. And when I had that clarity, and this is something that a lot of people get when they're in some kind of traumatic relationship, whether it be birth family or love relationship, or even with children, siblings, any of that. If you can see why you feel and respond the way you do, and recognize that it's from some past life, and that you're not really in danger, and the past is not going to repeat, you can go, I get to be who I am now. And at that moment, I stopped being afraid of him. Mm-hmm. I stopped worrying that he was going to kill me. And so it's just a phenomenal shift. And people might be sitting there now listening to this and saying, yeah, but how do you know it's not going to repeat? Mm-hmm. How do you know it's not going to repeat? And a basic premise of soul growth through many, many lifetimes is that we are not just on that Groundhog Day loop. We are not just repeating things. If we can gain awareness, if we can remember lessons learned, if we can recognize that the whole journey is about growth and always seeking to do better than we did last lifetime, then we can really, and if we have awareness of those past lifetimes, we can really move forward in an accelerated way.
Yes, right, exactly. I see this all the time, healing begins with awareness. And here we are, we're just gaining awareness of why do we have those physical ailments in our bodies? Why do we have these type of, difficult relationships in our lives? What is the lesson here? And is it just reflecting a past lifetime so that we can remember it and heal it so that we can move forward and the lessons for this lifetime?
Yeah. And one of the other things that I found pretty consistently, especially for those who are sensitive and healers, is the childhood is often a facsimile of some experiences from past lives with those same people, or maybe with different people. But it's not to be re-traumatized. It's not to have those things trigger and reinforce, but for you to see, oh, they might hate me this lifetime. They might not understand me. They might not welcome me in this birth family, but I'm not the Native American being cast out of my community. I'm not being the one killed by them. Oh, no matter what ugliness I came into this lifetime, I get to survive. I get to thrive. I get to move on beyond the childhood training.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think there's so much to that. Like, I'd love for you to speak more to this childhood training phase, because I really feel like, from 0 to 7, that's when we don't have a conscious filter yet. Everything is subconscious. Everything is being adhered to our subconscious. So later in life, any of those beliefs that we were told become the limiting beliefs, become our negative self-talk later on in life. So when we're having this, training period in our younger youth, what can that look like as we move forward in our life?
First of all, one of the values of that and this might take me off in a little bit of a side tank.
I'm okay.
But one of
I'm okay
the
with that.
values, and you might remind me of that question again, one of the values of that difficult childhood is humbling. Because many of us powerful, wise, magical, healer type people have also had past lives where we took that ability too far in the wrong direction. We got to test it out sometimes. We got to be that little kid, you know, putting the bugs under the magnifying glass because we have the power. So we have often had lifetimes where we abused our abilities, and we've given ourselves this kind of limiting curse of, I can't be trusted with my power. I won't move on. I won't do it again. And so in addition to lives where we've been persecuted that are forming a block now, we also may have lives where we've taken it too far in the wrong direction, which is blocking our ability to move forward now. But we've probably had other lifetimes where we've been the slave or the servant, or we've been under the thumb of somebody else that's omnipotent and abusive. So the childhood that is oppressive and unloving and judgmental is our reminder to stay humble, to keep our abilities on the path of service rather than ego or, you know, that kind of power. So when we have those childhood training lifetimes, it's really valuable to say, what did I get out of that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And looking at the other people, I'll tell a quick story about my own sister, who was a little bit older than me, not much. And when you're talking about that 7 years, you know, that developmental stage of not having a cognizant understanding, not an ability to analyze or have an awareness that, oh, what I'm experiencing might be different than what somebody else in a different family might be experiencing. This is just what it is. She and I both were reacting to each other based on previous lifetimes. She didn't have the cognizant awareness that I was a nice person this lifetime. So she, from day one when I was born, did everything she could to hammer me down and try to get me out of her world. And I responded always by trying to placate her or show her how good I was, which didn't have any effect at all. And to this day, into our 60s, she's still at it with that same motivation because she has zero awareness. And I have the awareness of, oh, our soul journey this lifetime is to simply acknowledge each other's differences and leave each other alone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I'm getting curious about how sessions like are set up. I mean, I know you kind of, it's not just one flash of one memory. It's kind of like you get different pieces of one lifetime. So what does that look like for you? How do you support clients through this process so they can start gaining these awarenesses?
So I'm glad you asked that, because sometimes you can have a major aha moment and clarity and release and healing in one past life experience. There's a couple different points. It's one thing for me to tell someone what I see about their past lives. And that's my superpower. When I'm doing a private session with somebody, it's just like, I close my eyes, I see a movie, I tell pictures, I know, you know, I have the ability to just see immediately what the past life is and how it correlates to now and guide them through that transformation process. But it is extremely more impactful when a person experiences that awareness for themselves, which is why I teach people how to go into their own past lives. Mm-hmm. And so a sequence often happens where I work with somebody for the first time. I show them by me seeing what the past lives are, and teach them how to revision it and turn the story into a happy ending story, which is my kind of specialty. And then maybe the next session, I guide them through their own past life journey and help them untangle it and understand it. And then maybe they move on to me teaching them how to do it for themselves.
Yeah, amazing. So is there a time when you do a past life to something positive? Do they all have to be traumatic?
Oh, thank you for asking that. So, I've done so much healing and releasing in my own experience with past life trauma. And many practitioners that focus on past lives, that's the crux of the work. So one time I got this idea, well, maybe I've had a nice past life. Is there something? And that's one of the key things, is I always set an intention before I do a past life reading for myself or for the client or whatever that is. It's like, I kind of talk to spirit and I say, or my own soul, and I say, show me the lifetime that is most pivotal or important for me to see about this issue that I'm having. And one time I was, working on moving forward with my healer path, still felt a little like awkward about it. And I went into a past life where I was a priestess standing at the gate of the temple. I was doing my work completely unobstructed, completely loved and supported in my community. I was in a group of others. There was camaraderie. The culture I lived in totally embraced the role that I had and the role that the temple had. So I got to see a lifetime where I was fulfilling my highest potential and being completely supported. I think it had to do with money too. And I was seeing people laying, fruit and vegetables and food at my feet as they were coming to receive whatever I was offering. And I saw, oh, it is a good exchange of energy to receive for my offering. And I think actually that, aside from the back injury one, I would count that past life regression as one of the most pivotal for me and the most valuable. So now that's actually a very strong intention, especially for people who have a path of purpose or who have a path, maybe they're to be a singer and something terrible happens. So show them a good life where they were a singer. Mm-hmm. It's a really, really important piece.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. Have you ever, and like this might be a little out there, but I have to ask, have you ever done a past life where the recall isn't bringing you to an earthly experience, that it's actually from a different planet or plane? Like,
a different dimension, a different experience?
Yeah.
Yes. And also for other people. Not everybody. This is kind of an esoteric, off the edge topic that, so when I explain this, I start with the disclaimer of, that's all very interesting and intriguing, but stay focused on the life you're living now when you are in an earthly body and you're here to do things in cahoots with other humans. That said, there are groups of soul families that all come in together, groups of souls that form soul families. Some of us started out in the time before time, and we've experimented with coming in as beings that are only presenting as partially human. Sometimes we have past life, and maybe I don't even call them past lives, I call them other lives, where it's we have stayed in the spirit realm and been assisting the human species in advancement from that detached experience. And sometimes we've come in as Atlanteans, and sometimes, we can see in history, there's the blue people in the Hindu religion that were made gods, and the Egyptians that are half animal and half human. And what the hell was all of that? So these are really esoteric, intriguing things to talk about. Not every person is going to have those other soul memories, and that doesn't make them lesser. They're just choosing a different journey.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it makes me curious if there are like, if people come like seeking, like, I want to know when I was famous and try to find that name. Like, I feel like so much of the spiritual industry, when you come to past lives, it's like people who are seeking out, like, I just want to know who I was so I can flaunt it, versus I'm here for healing. What's your take on that whole situation?
So it kind of depends on somebody's, openness or willingness. Like you said, if somebody's coming to you for healing, it might be valuable for them to see that some other lifetime they were somebody very important. If they're just coming to you for ego's sake, to flaunt it, what I have found in my experience is, and I'm not really turning it against somebody, but there are those who were the queen, or they were the king, or they were the general in the army that everyone listened to and did whatever they wanted. So when I share that life with them, I say, and I'm sad for you, because it must be really difficult to be in the life you're in now, and you're not the queen, and you're not the one that everyone listens to. And you are really, this life is made more difficult for you, because this is your life of humbling, and the life where you're learning how to be self-sufficient and do it yourself, and you're not the entitled center of attention.
I'm pretty sure my daughter, when she had her first reading at like age 7, that was the message. You're not the queen this time.
It's so challenging to not be the queen anymore, or not be the famous person, and there are always lessons to be learned. Like one example of a client was resistant to singing now, even though she really, really wanted to sing, and she had a beautiful voice. So there was the lifetime where she was an opera singer in France in the early 1700s. And not only was she really famous, but she discovered that in that fame, she never knew if somebody loved her just for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She had all the money and the notoriety that anyone could ever want, and she was desperately alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when she saw that feeling, and she realized, oh, that's why my soul is resistant to having any fame for singing, to put myself out there for singing, because I'm afraid I won't be loved. So there's a lot of weird twists and turns that can come from that. There, in the popular, sort of New York Times bestseller past life arena, there's all those people like Shirley MacLaine that want to say that they are Cleopatra, or they were Cleopatra, or whatever. Well, who cares? Who are you now?
Yeah. And I think that's why I love your work and the way you do things. Like in your book, Soul Shift, like it always comes back to, well, you're in a human body on this earth at this time. Now, what does the information from the past, how can it help you heal this lifetime, so that we can really fulfill our passion and purpose and all the things that are in our soul agreement this lifetime? And so I really appreciate that about your work.
Thank you. Thank you. I try really hard to make whatever information can come through be useful. Mm-hmm. It's not entertainment. It's, and my goal is always to empower other people.
Yes.
And stuff. I would like to talk a little bit about, people have asked, well, what kind of what kind of information besides what you and I've already talked about with the back injury and the understanding other people and that, but sometimes we have fears or phobias. We have emotional associations with certain things that don't make sense. And you know, a lot of times, like there was a man who was really afraid to get in an elevator. He would have an asthma attack when he was asked to, you know, speak and you know, say things. And it turned out that he had been gassed in the gas chambers of Nazi Germany. So when he saw that elevator thing, it really resonated for him with the asthma. And so there's, you know, fear of dogs, fear of water. Oh, you had to walk the plank in your pirate life, you know, all kinds of things that are just triggers now that don't really serve you to keep you safe, because the gist of the deal is that your soul, as I said, is seeking to learn, to not just keep remembering, or not just keep repeating old mistakes. If you're standing at the edge of a cliff, it's pretty consistent that if you fall off, you're going to die. So your soul, and you know what science calls instinct, I call past life triggers.
Yes.
So, oh, I've come across that dog that I got eaten by the wolf pack one lifetime. I'm scared of that. You know, you're being triggered from an instinctual level, but it's your past life stuff coming through.
Yeah.
And it may or may not serve you. It's really valuable to go, okay, is that fear consistent? Is it going to happen every time? Every time I put my hand in the fire, I'm going to burn. But every time I come across a dog, I don't get eaten.
Yeah.
So it's our soul memory lives somewhere. And when we come across an experience that is similar to some kind of past life trauma, I run into my husband for the first, you know, the man that is now my ex-husband. I was like instantly, yuck.
Mm-hmm.
But then something changed. I'm not sure what. My soul said, no, you got to do this. Sometimes we have an instant, I know that person. I like that person. I feel safe with that person. I love that person. And so it can happen both ways. But the key again is always awareness. Is this person really trustworthy again this lifetime? Is this person really dangerous again this lifetime? Is it still true? And even though a lot of the past life work is done on the subconscious and the spiritual level, it's still part of our work to bring that idea into conscious awareness and reevaluate it. And so part of the work that I do in my sessions, or that I teach people in my workshops, is to work through that. And then to give yourself affirmations. It might be, I release my fear of the past repeating. I'm safe now. Or it might be, I'm open to exploring without the fear of the past. Mm-hmm. You know, so there's different ways of moving that other life, past life experience into proper alignment with present time to be able to move forward.
Yes. I think that's one of the things I love about how you approach past life work, is really recreating the story so the traumatic ending doesn't happen. You can relive that memory and the trigger releases, and then combined with the affirmations, it feels very powerful. So if you have, like my husband, he has a really phobia of seeing myself or any of our kids like walking along a cliff. And it was so obvious, like, yeah, you had a loved one thrown over the cliff in a past life. Like, this is so clear because it's clear that I'm absolutely safe right now. I'm not anywhere near the edge. And he's going into a panic attack, and like how transformational that can be for someone to help release those triggers that are like living inside the body this lifetime where it doesn't need to be anymore. And so releasing that through your work.
And a lot of times I call this whole work, it's reprogramming your past life PTSD.
Yes, that's perfect.
We all have past life PTSD. We just don't know it.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. If you
and sometimes it's reinforced in childhood. And if you can do that, like let's peel back the layers. Okay, here's the reinforcement I got from my ex-husband. Here's the reinforcement I got from my sister. Where does it go deeper than that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Layers and layers and layers until one day comes, and for me personally, I can have a bully standing in front of me, verbally abusing me, and I don't take it in.
Yeah.
I don't respond to it. I don't feel it in the fear picture way I always did.
Yes. It can provide such phenomenal healing. And that's why, we have 2 of your past life guided experiential videos in our coursework. That when you've come on as a guest speaker in the past, and they still are there, and it supports our community. But I really think this is something that practitioners need to learn and also at least experience for themselves in some capacity. So Daryl, will you please tell everyone about your upcoming how to learn how to do this? Like, what does that look like? What are the dates coming up? Give us all the deets.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm teaching a 3-part course called Past Life Healing. It'll be online. It's 2 hours each day. And the idea is that we're going to start off the first day having a guided journey where you see just a simple life, something that gives you a taste of how the process works, and that you can go into it without fear that you're going to be re-traumatized or anything like that. Oh yeah, I have. And that's especially new for people who haven't had any information about their own past lives, to just see what's possible. And then we will, I'll explain a lot of, the whole causes and effects, some of the deeper information than what we've just talked about here today. The second day is going to be really addressing there's like 3 different kinds of past life trauma healing focuses. One is on relationships, difficult relationships you have now. One is trauma held in the body, if you have chronic pain, if you have a propensity to certain diseases or issues, respiratory, where does that come from? How to release that? What does your body want to tell you? And then the other is just the emotional false beliefs, like it's not safe for me to be in love. It's not, safe for me to make money. Those core beliefs. And to support those past life regression journeys that I'm going to teach people, and you have those experiences in the workshop, in the course. I've also compiled some written material that is an in-depth reference sheet, like, because there's so many similarities. Head injuries are often, past life when you were a warrior. There's some really common collective unconscious even stuff. So you'll get a lot of written material, resources, references that you can access later. And I'm going to teach my specialized, excuse me, my specialized version of working with past lives. You don't just see it and release it. You actually right then change the soul memory, because if you see it, you believe it. If you believe it, you feel it. And that's kind of what you operate from. So we do that in reverse. I guide you in a way to revision from the point of trauma, to magically, wonderfully see some other version. It's not revengeful. It's not angry. It maybe is just escaping. It's maybe sending love to everyone in the picture. Like my angry mob just went, oh, we see who she is. Let's have a feast and celebrate. So the revisioning and then stamping that into reality with some affirmations.
Yeah.
On the third day, there's one of those more trauma ones, and there's also the guided the guided journey to see a life where you were achieving your full potential. In the course, there are going to be lots of demos where I'll just tune into somebody and give an example, somebody that's in the course. I'm going to offer more client examples, more of my own personal examples with healing relationship. And so 3 days, 2 hours each. The dates are October 8, 15, and 22. Those are Saturday mornings in the mountain time. So it's 10 to noon mountain time. And I will be recording the courses. So if those times don't work for you, or you want to be able to access the material again, that's an option. And I will be teaching people. I'll also give you a script of the basic regression, past life recall regression, so that you can make your own recording and fine tune it for yourself and use it ongoing to access and work with your own past lives.
Fantastic. I might have to sign up myself, because I really do think that the more experience you have in this area and really are healing all of those different levels and bringing all of that to your awareness to really help shift it, can make a huge impact on your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health, all of the things. So I'm definitely looking at my calendar, so you guys might see me in that course too.
Yeah, and there's some people that just don't want to work in a group situation. I encourage people to actually, if they want to take the course, to actually make it a participation thing, because you'll learn a lot from what other people are experiencing. And this is the most important thing. If you have any concern that you might be triggering childhood abuse, you might have any kind of difficult experience, if you're there present time with me in the course, I make sure that nobody stays stuck in an uncomfortable scenario.
Yes. And I think that's so why I love having a live guide and someone there to teach you. Like I do the same thing with my shamanic training. Like I want to make sure, like, if anyone is stuck, that you have someone with an immense experience there to help you out of that scenario and back into a peaceful, grounded space where you feel safe again. So,
and I would also say that if somebody is doing their own work on their own later, or if they're only learning and participating in the after recording, I open invitation, call me up, send me an email. Don't stay traumatized.
Exactly. So how do people sign up?
I have a website. It's just darylholzer.com. There's a tab for courses, and that'll take you right to more of the information about the course and the ability to sign up. and schedule right there online. I'm happy to have anybody go on my website. If you have more questions about the course, contact me. I'm very available to address concerns, timing issues, things like that.
Awesome. So all of that information, the website, contact information is going to be in the show notes. So you'll have an easy click to access here. And Daryl's great to work with. I mean, I have loved being her client and having her as one of my mentors over the last many years. And so she is just a wealth of information. And this
Thank
really
you.
is her superpower.
Thank you, Christine. And I would also suggest or invite that if anybody here is feeling like they're not really ready for the course, but they want to have a private session, that's something that you can contact me about or sign up online. I have a whole scheduling system that's linked in there also.
Perfect. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Daryl, for spending your time with us here at Reiki Cafe. And I really look forward to seeing this offered many times in the future, and I can keep sending people your way.
I really appreciate your love and support. And I just really encourage anyone who wants to move forward and improve their life, whether that's just as a regular person or a healer or somebody that just wants to be less sensitive to the impact of everything around you. And I really honor Christine and your work here, Christine. And I know that you're reaching a lot of people, and so I'm very honored to be part of your world.
Oh, thanks, Daryl.